So Damian Lillard has finally requested a trade from the Portland Trail Blazers, and while the Miami Heat were the team consistently mentioned as the favorites to get him, I think the Utah Jazz have a really realistic chance to be able to go out and go acquire him. Trading Dame is a clear commitment to a rebuild. Everyone knows that. They're going to be trying to get the best young talent and picks that they can while still trying to give Dame a chance to compete. But for a team like the Heat, who are the main team linked to acquiring him, they don't have that type of package to put together. Outside of Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and a few first-round picks, there isn't really much to get back. If you brought in Hero to that team, it kind of sets your vision back long-term because you're having to accommodate him as opposed to just running with your young talent. Also, when you look at the Heat's draft picks, they're almost never a team that bottoms out within the top 10. If you're trading a guy like Dame, I would probably want a lot more upside with those picks when trading the best player in your franchise's history. So when you look at what the Heat have to offer, they're not really the prime destination that Portland would want to send them to.
But when you're looking at teams that actually can be prime destinations to send Damian Lillard, the Utah Jazz have to be up there.
They have all the draft assets you would want. They have a few expiring deals you can throw in for cap relief, and you have a few young players if they're interested in those. More importantly, these picks that the Jazz could be throwing into a deal have zero effect of how Lillard will do with the Jazz, and that's very important. If Lillard goes to, let's say the Heat, and they become a routine top contender in the East, Miami's first-round picks become virtually useless. They're going to be in the bottom half of the first round every time. But in a trade with the Jazz, the Blazers could get back a few of the Minnesota or Cleveland picks they got last offseason, and then Lillard could by all means go win 3 championships, and it wouldn't matter for Portland because they can have a down year for Minnesota or Cleveland, and that gets them a top 10 pick. A lot easier than what you would get with Miami or even other teams like Boston or other contenders. There is a few questions that come up with the Dame to Utah logistics, and I can address those really quickly. Off the bat, you'll hear people say that Dame doesn't want to go to Utah, and that's just wrong. I mean, he played 4 years of college at Weber State, and if you hear him talk in previous interviews, he calls Utah his third home.
So I would say it's like a third home. I come back here often. It always feels like home when I come back.
I don't think going to the place where it all started would be a bad option B for Dame. Then you'll hear people bring up, well, what about the timeline of the Jazz? Bringing in a 33-year-old point guard doesn't really help the long-term outlook. But I think if you have the chance to acquire a guy like Dame, the timeline shouldn't even matter. You can add Dame, and then your timeline is completely changing. Yeah, they have a rebuilding team at this point, but if you make a move for Dame, you're no longer rebuilding. That timeline is now accelerating. And you can do that by not giving away the entirety of your assets for the next 5 years. You have enough picks to deal a few away in order to get a superstar. And keeping all those picks is not going to be smart either, because when it comes time to draft all those players, you won't have the space to do it. The Jazz are already struggling with roster constraints. So if you bring in more players, that's going to only create bigger problems on the line. But you'll hear some fans say, whoa, we don't want to take on that big contract. $50 million for a 35-year-old. Get that out of here. We want to keep cheap players. Like, dude, you know who was 35 years old this past season and had one of the best years of his career? Steph Curry. I think you can look at Curry as a pretty good model for how you can look at Damian Lillard's career going forward. He's another guard that doesn't really rely on his athleticism a lot. He's a good shooter, good playmaker, good facilitator, can handle the ball really well. You can still be a really productive player on a good team and not be the youngest guy in the room. Players are staying better for longer in the league, and that'll only continue. Maybe Dame ends up playing less regular seasons 2-3 years on the line, but the Jazz have enough young players and picks to take that load off them. You're also eventually going to have to pay good players good money to be competitive at some point. Cheap rosters simply don't win championships, and you're going to need to spend a little. And why not do it now when Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler are on the cheapest they'll ever be in their career? So then you may be asking, what would a deal look like sending Dame to Utah? And while it seems like Utah will probably be unwilling to send any of their elite young players, any picks and expiring contracts are likely on the table. And after a bit of tweaking and kind of getting killed on Twitter,
oh, brother, this guy stinks!
This is what I put together. It gives Portland 3 rotation players under 25 and gives them 4 first-rounders to work with. Maybe you play around with the picks in the years, but this would give the Jazz 2 first-round picks from 2025 to 2029 every season. So this still keeps them super flexible moving forward. And if I'm the Jazz, I don't see why I don't make this move if it's presented to me. Now, I am aware that this is a lot of first-round picks to give up for Dame, but you got to look back to February when KD got traded. Similar age, similar timeline. He got traded for 4 first-round picks. Bradley Beal got traded for 4 swaps. I mean, even with a bad contract and the age, you're going to have to offer a premium. And when you're also competing with some of the best packages in the league, you have to rise above all of those. And by offering 4 first-round picks and exactly what Portland's looking for, I think this does. And yeah, I just had to make this video because I saw a ton of people saying that this wouldn't be that realistic of an option for Utah. But I think if the Miami deal does end up falling through, Utah has a serious chance to go get him. It doesn't give Dame, let's say, the best chance to go and get a ring, but it gives him a shot. Better chance in Portland. And I think that's really all he's looking for. But yeah, that's about all I have for now. Make sure to follow Inside the Jazz on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and make sure to follow my Twitter at Jared Cook NBA for more NBA content. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you all for watching. See ya.